to your weekend warm-up ahead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. A beautifully sunny day here in Baku. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Lawrence Barretto and Sam Collins. And we've snuck into the pit lane. I'm waiting to see how long it's going to be taking before we're ushered off. But what a beautiful setting. This is such an exciting race, I always think. It always offers up lots of opportunities, lots of things for the teams and drivers to get their heads around. You've got your notebook, which means you've obviously been having a little look at what they've been up to, Sam.
Yeah, well, it's a fundamentally compromised circuit. So you've got this stonking long straight. I believe the highest top speeds we're going to see all season. Monza might disagree with that. But also, the other side of the circuit is all twists and 90-degree bends and walls that Charles Leclerc's going to crash into. Oh, I think it's just brilliant from an engineering point of view because you cannot get the right setup for the car. Either way, you're going to have a car that's too draggy on the straight or too slow in the corners. And Lawrence,
you've been talking to a few of the drivers in the lead up to the weekend. What's the flavour like when you talk to them? Are they like this circuit?
Yeah, this is a circuit that
is a fast straight. That's even just a road car.
It feels fast, doesn't it? Yeah, it's not even a Formula 1 car, but they love this place, I think, because it's just a real great driver's challenge. And they've got a mix of the twisty section at the back of the circuit, this fast stuff where they're basically full throttle for the whole of Sector 3. And then there's that jeopardy element of the walls. We have had loads of incidents at this circuit over the years. It really puts your mind to the test.
Well, another place that puts your mind to the test is, of course, Monaco, and it wouldn't be a weekend warm-up without our 60-second wrap. And it's down to you, Lawrence, this week. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready. I love that segue, by the way. But
okay,
yeah, let's go. Yes, let's go.
Right, let's start the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
So in Monaco, we had a delay, and then we had another delay because of a technical issue. It was still raining when we finally got underway. Charles Leclerc got to lead his home race, and for most of it, he thought he was going to win it. Then Ferrari brought him in after his teammate Carlos Sainz said, "No, thank you, I don't want to come in." It proved to be the wrong tyre to put on. He put the intermediates. That dropped him down to third. Carlos Sainz eventually pitted. He took on slicks. Charles pitted and followed him in. They did a double stop. They rejoined second and fourth. Carlos's outlap meant that he was behind the Williams of Nicolas Latifi. He lost so much time that when Checo pitted the next lap, he got out in front of Carlos Sainz, lost that opportunity to win. Checo led, Carlos Sainz second, Max Verstappen third, Charles Leclerc fourth, and that's how it started for the rest of the race. George Russell remained in the top 5 for every race this season. What a record that is. Lando Norris, tonsillitis, doesn't matter, he got 6th. 7th, Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton spent most of the race looking at the back of him. Valtteri Bottas into the points at 9th, and Sebastian Vettel 10th after Esteban Ocon got a penalty.
No, I don't even know what the time is saying. You will, because it'll be on the screen by a magic of editing. That sounded, to me, pretty spot on to the minute. There we go. There we go.
I think it was pretty close.
I think that was excellent.
With those start delays, I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Well done. Well, looking to back up the win in Monaco is, of course, Checo Perez with a freshly signed contract. So it's all looking pretty rosy for him. And, of course, looking to take back-to-back victories here in Baku, which no one has ever done. Can they do it?
It's a remarkable stat, that one, isn't it? That no one's ever won more than once here. Yeah, I think they can. Red Bull was strong here last year. I think they're going to be strong here again. Their top speed is going to really give them a strength. Max Verstappen will want to put the misery of last year and that failure to win the race when he should have won this race behind him with another win here. I think they've got to be favourites this weekend.
And what about you, Sam? In terms of how they're running that car, is it one that will suit this circuit? Normally tight and twisty is their kind of cup of tea.
Well, like I say, it'll suit half the circuit, but not the other half. So I think that's what we're going to see, an almighty scrap down this start-finish straight, and that's going to be really exciting. I'm not sure they're going to win this race, but they have the data shows.
Get the predictions in early.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a while, but Mercedes, I think they're going to be in the picture.
Well, that brings me nicely on to the reigning Constructors World Championship holders. I'll get that out right. Just looking, there's a lot of kit outside their garage at the moment, a lot of work going on inside as well. What have they brought to this circuit? Is there anything we should be looking out for?
Well, I haven't actually had a good look at that car yet, so I can't tell you about any updates, but they are doing a little bit more work
You'll have to head off later and have a look.
On George Russell's car right now. But what they did manage to do, and we looked at the data at this in Monaco, we looked in Barcelona at this, it does look like they've solved that porpoising problem. They went from being one of the worst teams in the grid to maybe one of the better teams. And I think that's going to allow them to push the car a little bit harder, run it a little bit lower, and that's going to give them more downforce, better top speed. I think they're back in the game. Lewis Hamilton, had he not been a little bit wrestled out of the way on lap 1 of the Spanish Grand Prix, he was in contention for winning that Grand Prix, once Charles Leclerc's engine had gone anyway. I think, Mercedes, team to watch here.
Okay, well, I'm worried about that long straight, because if the porpoising does rear its head again, of course, that would be a a long old time to be bouncing up and down in the cockpit.
I mean, it's going to be so long because it's aerodynamic driven, the porpoising, and they're going to start porpoising for miles down the straight. I think it nearly is a mile actually, and they're going to be bouncing their way all the way down to turn 1 and hopefully turning left, not taking the Lewis Hamilton route and going straight on. But that could cause reliability issues for every single car that suffers from that.
Well, fingers crossed, as you say, you think they've got it under control. Let's move to McLaren now. It's a tricky situation at the moment. We've got one driver who's really at ease, as you mentioned too. Tonsillitis almost was just a bit of a like, oh yeah, sure, I'll get in and do really well in the car. Lando performing incredibly well. Daniel Ricciardo's still a little bit at odds with it, but of course he has won here, so he knows how to get the job done. But has he found himself in a comfy place yet with that car?
Yeah, I feel for Daniel at the moment because he does appear a little bit lost with the package that he's got around him. He's obviously not lost his speed. He's still a talented racing driver, and it just hasn't really clicked for him. But we've seen throughout the time, it's very loud, isn't it?
We're just getting into the party spirit here.
The podiums already. What we've seen throughout Daniel's career is he's always got on top of it. He got on top of it at Red Bull. He made it on top of Renault as well. So I've got no doubt, really, that he'll make it here. But it's made so much harder by the fact that Lando's performing so well. He's getting those results when he was suffering from tonsillitis. Imagine what he can do when he's fully fit, and I understand he's fully fit this weekend. He looks like he's got a spring in his step when I saw him earlier. So I'm expecting that Lando will help pull Daniel along this year, and there'll be this moment where it will flick. And like you said, he goes well here, and this might be that moment where you just need that flick of the luck.
Flick of the luck. Well, I had a chat with Daniel Ricciardo earlier on today. He said, I haven't done anything spectacular this year so far. Might that change this weekend? This is what Danny had to say to me.
This race is, of course, qualifying is always important, and I'm not saying we're not going to qualify well. I think obviously we have potential to do it, but it's also it's a street track, unlike many that you can really overtake on, and if you got the race pace on Sunday, that you can really do something good. So there's a lot more, I would say, like opportunities here, and so that alone. But I think we'll have I think so hard to know this year, but I believe we'll have certainly a decent car. There's always going to be that attention, that pressure, and when you can execute under those circumstances, it's one of the most powerful and like rewarding feelings. So I know that there is obviously chatter and let's say certainly some noise at the moment, but for me it's like a good reason to, in a way, like push back and just to remind people. But first and foremost, like remind myself that I can still do it. So I have no doubts. So yeah, it's fun, and I no issue with people talking because I haven't really done anything spectacular this year. So I know that it comes with the territory, but deep down I still know that what I'm capable of, and I look forward to showing this hopefully sooner rather than later.
Good to hear from Daniel Ricciardo in a little bit of a tricky time of his career at the moment, but he can bounce back. He's won here before, maybe not this weekend, but maybe further up the grid. Another team looking to bounce back from a performance in Monaco that was not what you'd expect from a team gunning for a world championship. The strategists had a tricky day in the office in Monaco, but can they make amends for that here in Baku?
Well, I think they better. I think they had a tricky day the day after Monaco when they had to account for the decision making that they made in the conditions there, where it was just outrageously bad, and everybody from the fans, the other teams, could see how badly wrong they got it. It was a disaster for them. So Ferrari need to not be making mistakes like this. I did see some really strange comments from Mattia Binotto in the media just on the run up to this Grand Prix, where he was sort of hinting that Ferrari didn't see this as a year to challenge for the World Championship anyway, and they just wanted to win races and be competitive.
But they started this car way back in the summer of last year, like way ahead of everyone else.
I know, so I found those comments to be slightly strange, and I found his lack of faith a little bit disturbing.
Well, hopefully they'll have plenty of faith this weekend. Of course, Charles made a little mistake here in recent times in qualifying. You've got to have that absolute precision around this circuit. Whilst we have this incredible long straight, that little twisty castle section, you've got to have your wits about you, Lawrence.
Yeah, but I think that the very fact that they need precision here is why they might have a good weekend. Charles, I think, is going to want to put Monaco behind him. When he tends to have a bad race, he tends to be able to bounce back quite quickly. Carlos had a very good weekend overall in Monaco and seems to be feeling a little bit more comfortable with the car, feeling like he can get the front end heading into corners in the way that he wants to. And I think when you've got two drivers like that feeling a bit better about the car coming to a circuit like this, I think that's definitely a good thing. I think we've got to remember that if you look back to last year, 2nd and 4th for Ferrari would have been brilliant in Monaco. So admittedly, they haven't got the win and the 1-2 that they should have done, but operationally, they haven't fought at the front for a very long time. And so these little things are going to happen over time.
Yeah, Ferrari never won here in Baku. They have never won here in Baku, so perhaps Carlos could get his first ever win here as well, or pole position even. Still missing those little things on the chalkboard. We move down to Alpine. Fernando Alonso's car there being worked on. A floor being taken in for Esteban Ocon. What's in your notes for what they've brought?
I've got quite a lot of notes on this car. Now, you remember Aston Martin at the start of the season, they had those very boxy, squared off side pods. They sat up quite high and that really distinctive rectangular duct on the way in. Well, I've turned up here and Alpine seem to have bought Aston Martin's old side pods and bolted them on the side of the car. So that's a pretty massive change for them, and that floor does not look to be the same specification that we saw earlier in the season as well. So that's the first time I've seen that going on. Really interesting to see all the little temperature sensors on the inside. We don't normally like us looking at those bits or looking too closely.
Keep the camera pointing this way. Keep the camera pointing this way. Alpine, there was that anomaly, wasn't there, with the Spanish qualifying? Managed to get it back on track for Monaco. What about this circuit? Have you kind of got a feeling from the team about how they feel they might go from this race onwards, really?
I think they're starting to feel like they're building some momentum after races in Spain and Monaco, and they seem on a Friday to have changed the way they approach that, and the programme's different now, and that's in turn helped them be a bit stronger on Sunday. It's pulled a little bit back in qualifying, but I think importantly, that's where the points are scored. Alonso's now on 2 successive races in the points. Esteban Ocon would have been in the points in Monaco without that 5-second time penalty. So actually, I think this could be quite a strong weekend for Alpine.
Well, as we have the wonderful music interlude there, you spoke with Fernando a little earlier on, so let's hear what he was up to.
I'm a little bit, looking forward to see how these cars perform in Baku, especially the bouncing effect on the straights. Here it could be quite extreme, and we are a little bit concerned about this, I think, everybody.
I mean, Alpine have seemed to have gotten top of pole position versus other teams. Are you kind of confident what you've seen in the data that maybe it shouldn't be as bad as you're hoping it was going to be?
Yeah, let's see. I think that's a phenomenon that we're still discovering and we're still trying to deal with it. So a question mark on that. Also, the tires could be an effect here as usual, and safety cars, red flag, all the usual stuff in Baku. So looking forward after Barcelona and Monaco with 2 great Sundays. I think we are hoping for another one here.
Yeah, it seems like you're building some momentum, you're finding some rhythm. Does it feel like that now after some bad luck really at the start of the year?
Yeah, I do feel like that. I think at the beginning of the year we were very fast, but a lot of reliability issues and a lot of things that happened in the first races. We didn't score points, and now I think from Barcelona we are maybe not as fast as the beginning of the year, but we seem to deliver the job on Sunday. We have a couple of new things here on the car as well, development. So, yeah, finger crossed, it's going to be a competitive weekend.
Not sure where Sam Collins has headed off to, but I assume it's into his happy place, aka the pit lane. But I'm very happy because we've been joined by Jess Hawkins, W Series driver and Aston Martin driver ambassador. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the weekend warm-up. Your first time on this one.
Thank you so much to begin with. This is actually my 1-year anniversary with the team. So Baku last year was my first weekend, and it was a great weekend actually, with Seb finishing on the podium, so let's hope for another one.
Absolutely, fingers crossed for a repeat performance. I can't believe it's been over a year since you joined Aston Martin. What a year it's been. So many exciting things coming out of Aston Martin, I think. Incredible initiative leading, talking about a lot of subjects that we all should be talking about, and I just wonder what it's been like to be part of that, and especially working alongside Seb, who's been so amazing at sort of taking the sport in the right direction.
I mean, Seb really is an extremely important ally, and I really think that Aston Martin have been the driving force behind some of the other teams that have got on board as well, and we're definitely heading in the right direction. He's certainly a figurehead. We need people like him. What a great person to learn from.
Absolutely, we can all take so much, and I think we should have all been talking about these things so many years ago. I mean, we've got a wonderful atmosphere here in Baku. The guys are busy, they're creating lots of noise in our background. How are they feeling going into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this is only our 3rd weekend with the new car, so obviously we're quite far behind the other teams. We're hoping that this is going to be a relatively strong one for us. We're only going to keep learning about this new car as well, so we will get there, and we're hoping this is going to be a strong one.
Now, just before we let you go, I want to talk about your success away from Formula One. TCR victory over there and a podium in the W Series.
I know, yeah, it's been a perfect start to the year, really. A win in the TCR and second place in the first round of W Series. The second round of both didn't actually go quite as well, but I'm feeding off of the success in the first two.
We won't dwell on that. We're not dwelling on those moments.
Sadly, a DNF in both, but if someone had said to me before the start of the season, you'll win one and finish second in the other, but sadly you'll DNF in the next one, I probably would have taken it. So yeah, it's been a great start, and I'm hoping to continue that success through into the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Well, so much luck for that, and thank you for being part of the amazing conversations coming out of Aston Martin and now the F1 paddock. So thank you so much for being on the weekend warm-up too.
Thank you.
Well, let's move from Aston Martin now to AlphaTauri, and it hasn't been perfect. There have been weekends where they've shown some brilliance. I thought Pierre put on a fantastic performance, I would say, in Monaco. I really enjoyed watching him race, even though it was from a lower down the grid spot than he would have wanted. What have you made of their journey through the season so far?
I think that race has really shown what might have been for them all season long, that Pierre's shown that they've got a car that can fight through the field, that can be scoring those big points. It's just a shame that they haven't really been able to put a whole weekend together, and you can see the frustration maybe starting to creep in a little bit for both guys, because I know they know that if they get everything right, they can get some really strong results. And early on in the season, you've got Alfa Romeo's Haas scoring well. It's really important for AlphaTauri to get big scores early doors in the season, otherwise they might see that kind of coveted 5th place in the Constructor Championship fall away from them.
Yeah, they just need a nice clean weekend. No kissing of any walls. They've got to be careful. Around here it can be difficult, so fingers crossed that they can absolutely take the performance and put it out on track and get that result. Let's hear from Pierre Gasly then. I caught up with him earlier on today.
I think I'm quite optimistic especially after Monaco. Monaco was, in terms of performance, our best weekend so far this year, and we know the limitation, we know the strength and the weaknesses of our car, and we know we're missing a load at the moment, and we know in low speed corners where you don't really need that load, the car is behaving quite well. So on a track like Baku is really low speed corner. I want to be quite optimistic on the fact that we can get a good result. Obviously, been talking a lot about having clean weekends, minimizing the mistakes, which hasn't been so great so far this season. So that will be number one priority. But yeah, we finished on the podium last year, so we're coming with a great motivation, great energy, and I think a good potential good result at the end of the weekend.
We move down to Haas now, and it was quieter down at this end of the pit lane. Now we've got a nice little soundtrack for us on this side. We made so much of the fact that Haas hadn't brought any upgrades when everyone else brought their upgrades in Spain. Anything extra that they've brought that doesn't necessarily come under the term upgrade this weekend?
Well, it's not extra, it's actually slightly less. The rear wing of the Haas, they've taken an angle grinder to it, chopped a big chunk out of it, it's very visible, and they've taken that whole top edge off it, and it's a big V shape now at the top. The reason for that, cut drag, long top speed, long straight top speed, that's what they're doing.
So that's for this weekend, it's not something we're going to see all the time going forward.
Exactly, and it also looks a little bit after 40. It doesn't look like something that was particularly planned. It's like, rather than bring a new bit, let's chop a chunk out of it. But Haas did tell me on an episode of Tech Talk.
I'm just thinking of the poor engineers that have planed that little bit of carbon fibre
so beautifully.
They just
and you're
chopped
just
it out.
You're just saying, yeah.
No,
Boom.
Haas did tell me during an episode of Tech Talk recently that there are upgrades for that car. They just haven't bolted them on yet.
Right.
So-
Well, we were
Okay.
told, 4 or 5 races time? So I was kind of expecting, well, Silverstone or France, something like that.
France, yeah.
I
France.
think they could come at any point.
Okay.
I just think they're just going to bring them when they're good and ready. But they do have them sort of loitering around in the paddock and in the back of the
Loitering
garage
around.
in boxes.
Loitering. Well, we will look out for those loiterers. We have made much of Mick still not able to take that first maiden point in Formula One. It's so difficult for a driver when you are just waiting and waiting for that to happen. And he's had some big shunts this year. It's a really hard place to find yourself, I guess, just trying to get that confidence back, and especially on a track like this.
Yeah, and those big shunts can really knock your confidence to the extent that it can send you into a downward spiral. But I was having a chat to him earlier today for a track guide that will be in our pre-race show on Sunday, and
Plug.
he very good, thanks. And he was feeling really good about things, to be honest, and that's what's impressed me most about Mick, that it's been so difficult this year, and yet he still found a way to try and just keep calm, not let it get to him. The key now is to do that on track, to have a smooth weekend. He needs a really strong Friday, really, to give him the confidence to really push the car comfortably through the weekend, but he's feeling pretty good about things, and like the Haas we've seen has been able to score consistently this year, so really there's no reason why he shouldn't be in contention in the top 10 this
it's
year.
so tricky, isn't it? Having Kevin Magnussen as a teammate is amazing because you can learn so much, but equally you're then against Kevin Magnussen, so it's a really tricky dynamic. I think they get on really well, but it's just out on track that must, you're going to feel the pressure from that. Similar situation really with Williams, with Nicholas Latifi finding it much harder than Alex Albon, and Alex seems to be really at one with the car, but Nicky just not able to find his feet with it.
Yeah, it's a difficult car, and I think from the start of the season the team just never got their head around it, and I actually think it was a mistake they made last year that they're paying back for now. Williams decided not to do any of the Pirelli tyre testing for this new era of Formula One, which means they came into the season with really nothing to work on, no data, no feel from the drivers. They just took the Pirelli book data, as we call it, and just put it into the car and hope for the best. Everybody else in the pit lane knew what those tyres were about. They tested in Abu Dhabi last year. Williams didn't have any of that running, and I think that's what's hurting them now.
I think Nicholas Latifi has really found that difficult, not having had that experience with the tyres. I spoke with Alex Albon earlier on today. He thinks, on paper, the car should go well here. Obviously, it needs to go well on asphalt, not paper. That would be weird. So, fingers crossed, they can have a good weekend, because anything can happen in Baku. It's Alex Albon, and he's had his hair freshly redone, looking fly.
It's been done again.
Oh, has it?
Third time now.
You're really pushing it.
You know what I say it is because I've never been trying to push it, but we as a team, what do you call it when you wring the towel? Like you get that marketing juice all out of it, and here we are. So I just now I'm trying to get it done like nonchalant, like just. I've got it done, but I don't tell anyone.
Well, now I've got all my hairstyling tips from you, Alex.
No problem.
Let's talk about Baku.
Yes.
Or rather, what have you been up to? I mean, apart from having your hair dyed since Monaco, how have you used the last sort of 10 days or so, or week?
I've used it very effectively by doing nothing. So I've pretty much stayed at home and become a sofa warrior. Do some training actually. So just if my trainer sees this, he knows that I'm training. But yeah, it hasn't been too much.
And is that good actually? You needed that break, do you think, physically?
Yeah, you do. We've been on the road now for a fair bit, and I felt that, at least for me, with my calendar, this has been the first kind of proper week where I've been able to be at home for more than 4 or 5 days. So it's been really nice. And you need to build up the energy because we're going into Canada next week, so there's going to be a big jet lag energy shift. So yeah, feeling prepped up and topped up.
We are outside Alfa Romeo now, and the car's being worked on. Yes, quite a lot of action going on in there. Have you been having a little look this afternoon?
I have, and that's why I missed that chat with Jess. I'm a bit annoyed because it's actually really good stuff she's doing, but I've been quite excited about the front wings of the Alfa Romeos.
Got a fair few of them.
The ones at the front are the new ones. They've got little cutouts on the back that weren't on there before, and I only noticed that just now, which is why I just figured I wanted to go and have a closer look, and as they haven't blocked everybody off, I thought I'd have a nice look at that. And they've got a new rear wing on the car as well, and that's something I think you're going to see up and down the grid this weekend. Lots of people trying different wing angles to try and balance the cars out, get them to go as quick as possible, and stop and bounce up and down before they get to turn one, and that's really going to be the story of the weekend. Also, with new wings come new wing problems, and I think you might see a few people struggling with their DRS.
Voice of doom.
Wow. That's depressing.
Come on, give me some jubilation.
Yeah.
Give me some joy. They've got Valtteri Bottas. He's almost king of Baku, I feel. Like, he knows how to get the job done here. He was obviously robbed in the 11th hour before with his tyre. He's won here. He's come second. He's had that drag race to the line. I love that. Surely he's a bit of a dark horse this weekend.
Yeah, I think these guys have got plenty of reasons to be excited about this weekend because they've had a car that's performed very strongly at a range of circuits this year. Monaco, they're hoping, was an outlier and that they'll be back to where they've been for the rest of the season here. Valtteri's operating at such a high level at the moment. Perfect timing. Valtteri's operating at such a high level this year. And Fred, when I was talking to him earlier, was talking about how he's really lifted the team. The mechanics and the engineers have been galvanised by just having a race winner in the team. He's really come in, he's got stuck in, and he's bringing Joe with him. Like, he's mentoring him at a high level. And Fred was also saying that he feels that Joe just hasn't really had the luck this year, that he's in the data showing that he is very quick. It's just that for one reason or another, things haven't quite worked out for him. So actually, I think there's a good chance we're going to see both these cars in Q3 on Saturday and fighting for points.
With their new racy livery. Got to keep an eye out for that. But while we raise up the volume, let's have a listen to what Valtteri Bottas had to say to Lawrence earlier on.
It's quite a turnaround for the team versus last year into this year. How much has that surprised you? And then the next question, how far can they go?
I think, the expectations for this year, it was so hard to say, like, result-wise. And I think we've maybe even surprised ourselves a bit how fast the package is in some races. And the thing is, there's no limit. Nowadays in Formula One, with the budget cap and everything, everyone is kind of on the same line. So I truly believe that there's so much more to come. And, it's really clear for us, like, still where to improve and how to get closer to the top. And that's what makes it fun. There's no limit. So for sure, more to come.
All right, well, that starts here in Baku, and you seem to have a really good run of form here. You've obviously won here, nearly won a second time. What makes you so strong around here, do you think?
Since the first year we came here, I really like the track. I mean, it's definitely a challenging track. I would say one of the most difficult tracks to kind of nail, especially in qualifying, and also the race is always unpredictable and can be pretty crazy. So I feel like here always in the race it's all about playing the long game and calculating risk. But in qualifying you need to take risks. So I think that balance just works for me.
It's that time of the show. Shortly before I go and lie down in a quiet, dark room to get over the cacophony that has been this weekend warm-up, I want to know, who are your top three this weekend? Sam, first.
I predict liveliness, and I predict 2021 Redux. Lewis Hamilton is going to win this Grand Prix, followed by Max Verstappen, both of them making amends for that race they missed out on, which decided ultimately the World Championship. And Sergio Perez will come in third to a very disappointed Carlos Sainz, who was leading the race and failed to finish.
Wow, that's quite a detailed prediction. Yeah, you
extra bits.
put yourself under pressure, eh?
Well, you're now under pressure. Come on now.
So I think it's going to be a Charles win and a Max second. They haven't really had much luck here, but I think that's going to change this year, and I think Bottas is going to make the podium.
Ooh, okay. And I'm going to go for, just because I feel like it is time for Carlos Sainz to take a win, he is going to take the win. P2 for Perez, P3 for Max Verstappen.
Okay.
And I'm worried that Charles won't be on the podium, but he's not going to be on the podium. And your Lewis, my
the
goodness.
Lewis one is brilliant.
Bold, so bold.
Data, mate, data.
Data. Right, well, will we or won't we be right? Only time will tell. Hopefully, I need to put my teeth in. Hopefully you've enjoyed the weekend warm-up. We will be here all weekend taking you behind the scenes in Azerbaijan. Enjoy the race weekend. Goodbye.